Young County School Board regularly scheduled business meeting. It is January the 28th. We are at the Aquilina Howell Center, coming to you live, unless you're watching a later recording. I don't see our student here. Our student school board member is making his grand entrance as we speak. And when he gets to his seat, he's going to introduce the students who will be participating in the evening tonight, leading the pledge and offering a thought for the day. And we'll give him just a second to get settled.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Quite a lot of traffic.
Yes, there was a lot of traffic tonight. Take it away.
2 people are doing the thought for the day.
All right, so for the Pledge of Allegiance, we have Taylor Colbert,
Like
and
Colbert.
They are a 7th grader at Cobb Middle School, accompanied by Thomas and Dorothy Colbert, who are their grandparents. They do Model UN and debate team at their school, and their honors include the beta member and the honor roll.
Okay. Please stand for the pledge. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For our thought of the day, we have 2 people, Morgan Newman and Nia Harris, doing the thought of the day together. They are both 7th graders at Cobb Middle School, and Morgan is accompanied by Conquita and Daryl Newman, which are her parents, and Cassandra Walker, which are Nia's mother. Their school activities include debate team, basketball, softball, and the honor roll.
As our circle of knowledge expands, so does the circumference of darkness that surrounds it, Albert Einstein. The purpose of education is to continue the expansion of knowledge.
I'm reflective only in the sense that I learn to move forward. I reflect with a purpose. Kobe Bryant. The purpose of education is to move forward into the darkness of misinformation and the unknown. Let us continue to press forward. Thank you.
Thank you. How incredibly timely.
Yeah.
Well, that was beautiful. Thank you very much for thinking of doing that, and that was really good. So thanks, moms, dads, grandparents, everybody that's here to support these beautiful young women. We're grateful for your time, and you're more than welcome to stay for the duration of our very engaging meeting. But if you have homework that you need to get to, feel free to take a hall pass.
If I may, Madam Chair, I see their principal, Sarah Hembry, here.
Oh, I'm
Miss
sorry.
Hembry, you mentioned something else about these 3 young ladies that they were participating at Cobb.
Actually, yes, they are all members of our debate team and our Model UN team. So I know that Morgan represented us in Orlando recently, and they'll be representing us in March in another competition. And all 3 of them will be competing at the Tussman Model UN competition that is Valentine's Day. All day, they will be at TCC from 8 to 10.
Wow.
Working on that along with a bunch of other kids.
Very nice.
Very
Congratulations. Very good. Well, thank you again. We appreciate you being here. All right. Are there changes and additions to be read into the record, Ms. Bowen?
Yes, Madam Chair. They are as follows. Item 19.05, the superintendent recommends approval of the RAM Construction and Development LLC change order 2 for construction manager at risk for Fairview Middle School Phase VB total renovation and build out of buildings 3 and 4 RFQ 424-2018 be pulled. Number 2, add item 19.10, 2019-2020 revisions to the 2018-2021 collective bargaining contract between Leon Educational Staff Professional Association, LESPA, and the Leon County Schools District, Leon County School District. Just received the ratification information from the LESPA president. Third item, 18.04, extensions of suspensions. Add case number LCS 2019-58 secondary. Fourth item, 7.04, approval of personnel actions, January 28, 2020. Replace documentation and contents of public content. I move the acceptance of the changes.
All right, changes and additions have been moved by Ms. Bowens. Or
Second.
Second by Ms. Wood. All in favor?
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
I'd also like for us to please consider pulling item 18.3 for discussion, please.
You want to pull it from the consent agenda and put it
From
on
consent.
consideration?
Yes, please.
Okay, without objection.
18.03.
So that will become item number 19.11. Okay, very good. All right, all in favor of the changes and additions with that caveat?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Show it unanimously approved. I just want to confirm that we have, in the reading of that, we have pulled item 19.05. It will not be considered tonight. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Superintendent?
Madam Chair, if I may, I see Dr. Rhonda Flanagan here this evening, and also some members of her staff. I would like for them to come up. I would also like for Leon High School Principal, Mr. Billy Epstein, to come up. And then I tell you what, Mary and Laney I have Mary Stafford and Laney Henry also with us tonight, two very special students that we would like to recognize. And don't be shy. Come on up, ladies. Come on up.
We won't make you speak.
I'm outing you. So, Dr. Flanagan, if you would kind of tee this up to what you told the audience the other night when you had your wonderful reveal party at Hartsfield.
So, good evening, Superintendent and Board. It's great to be here with you. And a couple of months ago, our chorus was here and they performed on their campaign journey to Carnegie Hall. And so, just I'm not sure if you're aware, but we have reached our goals with heart and soul. And we thank board members and all of those people that contributed. But on the way, on our journey, it's been phenomenal for the school and the community to see how everyone has come together and rallied around our goal to get to Carnegie Hall. And so we had from donations from $1, 10 cents, all the way up. We were fortunate, and we had
20,000.
Yes. Okay. So I'll say it. So yes, we had one donor that gave us a $20,000 donation, and so it didn't matter whether it was $1 or $20,000. We were so appreciative, and it was the love and the spirit with which people came together to rally around Hartsfield, and even more so right here in our own community. We had two students from Leon High School, and they heard about our plight to Carnegie Hall, and they're lovers of the arts themselves, and so they came together and said, we want to do something for Hartsfield. Now, they're high schoolers and we're in elementary school. We're not even in the feeder pattern, but you know what? We're in your community, and that's what counts. And so they came together, and I'm going to let Miss Jackson, this is our choral director, so I'll let her talk about, let's give her a hand.
Yeah. The beautiful thing about Lainey and Mary was that I did not even know them. They emailed me on their own, and they asked, how can we help? How can we help your efforts? How can we push you forward? And we got to emailing, and we instantly connected. And the beautiful thing is our schools are very, not too far from each other, but we're so different, but we're so alike through music. This initiative came together through music. So they put together an initiative at the Young Actors Theater, brought in 3 other groups. They performed, and within 1 hour, they raised over $5,000 for our group. So it has been an amazing journey. Students raising money for students, something that I know I have never seen in this county before, and they definitely should be recognized for all of their efforts and their heart and their spirit. It was very genuine, and we would like to thank you guys for everything that you've done.
Great. And hold on, lady. I'm not going to let you off the hook that easily. Step up to the mic. So when I was in there, they're not shy. They're performers. So when I was at Hartsfield and Dr. Flanagan asked him to stand up, literally I had to just bite my tongue. I was just like, whoa, are you kidding? We have 2 juniors in high school that took it upon themselves to raise $5,000 to help these children in this elementary school who otherwise would never have this experience. it speaks to what is right about our schools, what is right about the students in our community, and just it makes your heart smile. So tell us a little bit. So y'all did this through Young Actors through Valerie Smith, Miss Smith?
Yes, we used Young Actors Theater for the benefit. We had 3 different groups. Melodiers from Leon High School. Lainey's in that. We had studio singers perform, and they're the high school troupe from Young Actors. And then Hartsfield Chorus, obviously.
Oh, wow.
It's a little number.
That's great.
And you raised $5,000.
Yes.
It was
1 hour?
No, that is no
incredible.
word.
That's really,
I just,
really
I mean, this
something.
is what it's just
and
awesome.
to plan an event and to pull it off and to sell tickets or whatever you did to raise the money too. It just that is great, a learning opportunity and a leadership experience for you. That and my daughter's a melodier, so very good. Thank you, girls.
Madam Chair,
Thank you
Mr.
so much.
Jones.
Leon is an extraordinary place with extraordinary young people and with extraordinary leadership. As a member of the Tallahassee Memorial Hospital Foundation Board, we too have been beneficiaries for a long time of the kindness and the generosity and the philanthropy of students. And philanthropy and students are terms that are more times than not mutually exclusive. But the fact that they work in tandem here in our district is a testament to these young people, their parents, and the persons who provide leadership at their schools. Congratulations to you and thank you for what you've done for our little ones.
Thank you.
May I say something?
And can we take a picture with them? Y'all mind taking a picture? All right. Dr. Flanagan, Mr. Epstein, y'all come on. We're gonna take a picture. Put the tall people in the back. All right, right here y'all are in the middle. Come on, right in the middle. Y'all turn the face and we'll stand behind you.
You're fine. You're fine.
There we go. I don't have Chris Fetley here to. That's all right. We'll figure it out, right?
Hold on.
So are y'all part of the Young Actors troupe too, or not? I am. So did you perform at the Capitol today?
I did.
That was awesome. I stopped and they were singing a Queen song. And I'm like, oh, I have to watch this.
Yeah.
So it was, and Valerie was there. It was
Yes.
a great performance. So again, ladies, thank you.
Yes, great job.
All right.
All right, moving right along. No recognitions tonight. Reports to be heard. Ms. Wells, you ready to?
Wait a minute, don't we have another student to recognize,
Oh,
Mr.
sorry.
Hannah? Don't we have a Tropicana person here? Ingrid? Do we not know about that?
She's on the persons to be heard.
Oh, she's on the persons to be heard,
She
okay.
is,
I thought she
yes.
was gonna, all right,
Chip off the old block.
She filled out a form and everything.
Yes.
okay, well, we have maybe some recognition at the same time then.
Okay. This-
Good evening,
Good evening.
Good evening.
school board and superintendent. I am really huffing and puffing because I just came from the DOE ESE survey, and we had an awesome time there, and I'm looking forward to the results of that survey. Our last DAC meeting was on January 9th, and it was kind of exciting. We got to hear about the new bills that are coming through the legislature for the 2020 legislative session. So we received an overview of those bills, and I'm going to go over some of the ones that are probably our highlights, or maybe not so highlights, but things that were highlighted during our meeting. We received a brief description of Senate Bill 0376, which exempts English learners, language learners from the 10th grade ELA exam. Senate Bill 0434, it updates statutes language to include career and technical certification, so it's just updating that language. Senate Bill 0486 eliminates the Florida's Best and Brightest program, but you'll hear about that. But you'll hear about that later. Senate Bill 1088, it provides a framework for teachers' salary increases, and it's the exact same language that the governor is recommending. Senate Bill 0534 is requiring the Department of Education to maintain a list of persons who are permanently disqualified due to their findings of wrongdoings from employment at public and private schools. House Bill 7011, which is requiring the Florida High School Athletic Association to set parameters for temperatures, for practices and games, also requiring schools to have emergency action plans to include a procedure for on-site cooling of our athletes. And then we go to Senate Bill 1400. It revises some of the requirements of the tax credit program. It changes the initial requirement for tax scholarship eligibility to allow students from families with 300% below the poverty level or less to be eligible for those programs. It creates a minimum annual base salary for teachers. This is something, of course, that everyone knows about. The governor's, as we like to say, the 47.5. And so it puts in language about the 47.5 for teachers grades K through 12, which would be effective July 1, 2020. And it also creates language to implement the new version of the teacher bonus program, which is being called Rewarding Great Classroom Teachers for Extending Student Success Program. Senate Bill 62, we received information about that bill as well, which is requiring school districts to share their discretionary sales tax funds with charter schools. It redefines early college programs, and it also changes the calculation of FTE for IB, AP, and dual enrollment, so they'll all be the same. And so I will say that I did miss all of this wonderful information, but I was able to talk to Jessica today to get an update on exactly what this is going to mean to our district and what it will mean to the state of Florida. And so she's going to come back in March and let us know where those bills are, if they've moved on forward or if they have not. We also received information from Dr. Gale about an overview of the 2020 census. As we all know, it's coming out soon, and that April 1st is the day that everyone should have received their information in the mail. So, and I will just take a personal point of reference to say, please fill out your census. We know that it really affects the monies that are received here in the district at the district level. So even though it's a federal thing, everyone needs to understand that it's really local, and it really affects us on the local level. We also had a presentation from Dr. Flanagan about the Hartsville Elementary's their now past Family and Parent Engagement Conference, which was held on January 24th and 25th. As well as we had a presentation from Jamie Holloman, which is with our school choice programs, and she provided information on how to apply for school choice. She let us know that school choice has to now be done through Parent Portal, which is the Focus portal, and that the deadline is March 1st, 2020. And the last thing that we had Madeline come and give us information about her initiative, and I'm not going to go into that, but the voter registration initiative that happened on January 21st. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your service. And
Thank you.
As usual.
Let me give an update real quick on some, I don't know if y'all saw the news this afternoon about the Senate Ed Appropriations Committee has rejected part of the governor's plan. They've proposed a $500 million package that does away with all bonuses and provides for a 4.5% increase across the board starting at 0 through the end of the salary schedule. The House is not far off of that. I think they're at like 467 million. So the two groups are really close, which this far into the game is kind of surprising that in both groups are not supporting any bonus plan at all, which is exciting news.
Yes.
So far, right? But to hear that, I'm very encouraged as to what we could do with that money, and then the other monies that we have set aside as a district, to add to that we can really move the needle for teachers at 0 to 30. So, fingers crossed. They basically took the $300 million that we received, the $300 million that was in the best and brightest, and rolled it into salaries, as we tried to say, several years ago. Right, was important, and added $200 million to that. So a 4.5% increase from the state. And then if we can also add to that with the money that we have, it would be a significant move in the right direction. So I'm very encouraged.
Totally agree with what the superintendent's saying. And I know a lot of people that are first-time teachers, and I know a lot of veteran teachers, and I think that the overall, just looking at business, it's a good business practice and best practice to do percentages versus initial starting and having to look at how to fund people that have been there before and have served the districts longer. So.
And also, if I could add to it looked like they were trying to include all members of the group, to include media specialists, counselors, all folks. And even there was some language about including instructional parapros in this program as well. So I'm really, yes, I am cautiously optimistic, but excited. Yeah, fingers crossed. So it's good news.
Thank you for that information.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, school board members and superintendent. Again, my name is Madeline Fayok, and I'm the Student District Advisory Chair. The SDAC met on January 8th, and at this meeting, we discussed the voter registration drives and how we're going to implement it in each of the schools. During this meeting, we also had Supervisor of Elections staff come and help train each of the SDAC members. So we went through each of the forms and showed them exactly where all the information needed to go, how the students should put it so they have to use a pen, and just little details to fill out the form and make it easy so students can, actually pre-register and register. We also had Miss Susan Mayfield from the Leon County schools. She's a videographer who videoed some of the students from each of the schools, and that video was used to promote the event at the school. We also had these flyers. They'll be available after the meeting if you want to look at them. But we posted that on social media as well, and the Supervisor of Elections also printed out bigger, larger posters for everyone to put around their own school. We had a great turnout on Tuesday, January 21st, 2020. We collected 770 forms, which was in, I would say, 5 to 6 hours, which is really great.
Great.
So I'm very proud of that. I would also like to express a thank you to all of the school board members and superintendent for all of your support. I would also like to thank Mr. Mark Early and his office staff for helping to implement the event in all of the high schools. I'm especially proud of all of the hard work from the students at each of the schools, the sponsors who helped them, and the volunteers who took time out of their schedule to go to each of the high schools and help register students there as well. I also wanted to give a personal thank you to Mr. Darrell Jones and Supervisor of Elections Mark Early again for believing in me and this idea from the very beginning, and just really always being there whenever I needed it. So thank you very much.
Great.
Yeah.
Good job.
This event, oh, sorry.
Sorry, I thought you were
This
done.
event is a great first step to more successful drives, hopefully in the future, and starting in fall of 2020. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Jones?
Congratulations, Madeline.
Thank you.
To have such a fantastic and impactful legacy project is just phenomenal, and the entire district is proud of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good
Thank you
job.
very much.
Thank you.
She did a great job at the FSBA, too. She
Yes.
made us very proud, so
Thank you.
That she did.
we were glad to have something to brag about.
as a part of our constant narrative about capturing stories,
Yep.
I would hope that we could possibly reach out to FSBA to find out what has been the impact of the Madeline resolution statewide. As I understand it, it left FSBA as a recommendation to other districts. I'd like to know which districts did participate, and perhaps we might foster what might be best practices from our own success, and that be an update provided to FSBA so that we can make certain that this remains on their radar continuing. Think about it. It's been in our lifetime that the King holiday became a day of service. It morphed into that. And that was because of initiatives much like this. So if here on the day following the holiday, this too could be something that morphs and continues beyond this year. And that's what our intention is.
Yeah. They have a great email system. We could send out information and get other people to share.
Get a report. Yes. Good
Maybe
idea.
not to give you more homework, Madeline, but lessons learned, best practices, what worked well, what didn't work well, like things to look, just maybe a bullet sheet of quick. And Mr. Early can probably give you some good feedback too on how other voter registration drives have gone by comparison, so we can see what worked well. But that seemed like a pretty substantial number to me. So great job.
Thank you.
All right. Title I Advisory Council? None, sorry. Thank you. Any persons to be heard? Do you have any speakers?
Madam Chair, there are 4 speakers. The first speaker is Ingrid Hanley. Speakers, when you come to the microphone, please give us your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Turn your mic down.
For me?
Yes, you're speaking.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Ingrid Hanley. I'm a 5th grader at Hartsfield, and I live at 1911 Walhalla Court, Tallahassee, 32301. Good evening, school board members and Superintendent Hannah. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk about something I really care about. In Leon County Schools, we throw away 2,508,000 trays per year. Styrofoam trays per year. Put them end to end, and that covers the distance between Tallahassee and Miami. And that's only with one year's worth of trays. Our lunch trays can't be reused or recycled because of their material. So the only thing we can do is try to reduce our use of these trays. You probably know styrofoam is also called polystyrene, which is a widely used plastic. In its expanded form, it is 95% air. That's why it is so light. It is also light because of the chemicals the plastic is injected with to turn it into foam. The use of styrofoam is bad for a few reasons. First, it causes health issues. According to the Breast Cancer Fund, 2 of the chemicals used to make styrofoam, styrene and benzene, are harmful and can leach into food on lunch trays, especially when the food is hot or high in fat. According to the National Research Council, styrene can cause cancer. Second, the production of styrofoam is also harmful to our environment because it uses a lot of energy and is difficult to recycle because it has to be very clean and undyed. Very few places in the U.S. recycle this material because it is not profitable. Here are some ways we can limit our use of styrofoam lunch trays. We can use compostable paper trays, and the schools that have gardens can use the compost to enrich the soil. Or we could use reusable plastic or metal trays. After the classes eat, we could have someone wash the trays, by hand or in a dishwasher. Maybe the older students could take turns helping. We'd learn a life skill. I'm part of a nonprofit organization called Rethink Energy Florida. They have a youth group called YELL, Young Environmental Leaders. They're very supporting with my project. My school is too. I hope to inspire a change district-wide. I'm hoping to get your support. I hope you agree there are many reasons why we should switch to compostable or reusable trays. I know money can be an issue,
but let's find a way to fund it. Other counties in Florida have already switched to compostable trays, such as Flagler County, Indian River, Pinellas, Hillsborough, and even Miami-Dade. Let's follow their lead. Thank you for your time.
Oh, wow. I wish I could do that.
Ingrid, would you tell us what grade you're in and what school you're from?
I'm in 5th grade and I'm from Hartsfield.
And did I hear a rumor that maybe you were in the Tropicana speech contest? And what was the outcome of that?
I won most persuasive.
I can see why.
Yes.
When you have a good story to tell and you tell it well, sometimes good things happen from it. So thank you so much for that inspiration.
You're welcome.
And I saw Ingrid on Saturday with her mother, and she handed me a pamphlet that tells a little bit more about her organization. And I promised her that we would get with James Halcroft, our food service director of food service, and Kim Banks, our CFO, and look to alternatives to styrofoam plates and containers.
Absolutely.
I have other flyers for you guys after the meeting.
Actually, Ingrid, I'm so impressed the way you stood there and just gave us this wonderful information. I thought there's another Madeline Fiat right there. And that's her. So Madeline and Ingrid, you have much in common. Outstanding. Yes. Oh, you see? I knew it. Thank you
really?
so much. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I knew it. Thank you.
Madam
well
Chair.
done.
I know that the Tallahassee Democrat has asked us to make recommendations for young people to be considered.
I'm not sure what the age requirement is, but we can definitely look into it and keep
You
her.
have 2 in the room.
Keep an eye. Yes, keep an eye on her.
We have 4 in the room.
That's right. We had the other 2
And
who
I
aren't
was
here now.
impressed with the young ladies who spoke
That's
with
right.
us earlier from Cobb as well.
That's right.
Good.
So I just want us to keep that on our radar screen, that we will make recognition of these superior and talented young people who are in our midst.
Absolutely. Year of the Woman. Let's note that too.
Add those Melodiers who were with us earlier. They're asking us for 4, but we can certainly find more.
And the Cobb students who are in the,
That's right.
Debate,
The Model
right.
UN,
Model UN.
who were here earlier, the Melodiers. I mean, we've just got this has been a phenomenal meeting that has highlighted
The reason we do this work.
our student talent.
Yeah, the reason we do this.
Congratulations to you, young lady.
Good.
Great job.
So
And you
we
might
have
want to
the
talk to
4.
Madeline on the way out, because
Please do.
Okay.
her student advisory council could probably benefit from your wisdom and vice versa.
They could make a
Oh,
campaign out of it.
inspirational. Yes. Thank you, Ingrid.
Okay,
Welcome.
great job.
The next speaker, Beverly Randolph. Ms. Randolph, when you come to the podium, please give us your full name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. Uh-oh, you might.
Did you need it?
Sorry about
That's
that.
right. That's
Oh,
it.
my.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
My name is
Bless
Beverly
you.
Randolph. My address is 5729D, Tallahassee, Florida, 32304. I'm a veteran of the military, a 14-year educator, but I took a little break to talk about something that is passionate for me, and that is bullying. As we know that 1 in 3 students are bullied at least every single day. And with that information, I decided to take a small break and write this book about my life in bullying. Hi. Rocky, Mr. Hannah, by the way, this project has been in your possession. At least I hope I delivered a few copies. And what I wanted to do is get this in the hands of schools. Because coming from an educator myself, we know that we don't have a whole lot of time to focus on bullying and the effects of bullying. I've been on the radio with Miss Webb. I've also went to Atlanta, stayed there for a year, and I've done a lot of projects, and I know that talking to the children and allowing them to talk to us is what needs to happen. We have conferences for men and for women, but we don't for children. And my services can be used for that reason, to motivate, to build their self-esteem and allow them to talk to us. And I am super passionate about this because, as you can tell, I'm not too big, and that's one of the things that I was bullied on. But one of the things that was positive about that lesson is learning to treat them better than they treated me. And through being an educator and a veteran, I know that this is something that this community needs. And if we can actually get the buildings, I'm there for free. So with that, I yield to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Very much.
Thank you so much.
You know, I recently saw a segment on, I think it was Good Morning America, where there was a young boy who started, he loved to read, and in this case he started a program called Books for Bros, and he's only like 13, I think. But to participate in that program, it's not inexpensive, and it was, I talked to the executor of our foundation, and his suggestion was that maybe we could compile locally our own group of books that would be something similar. So we should put that in the loop to think about.
Yes, ma'am, that'd be very much appreciated.
And I'm going to have Dr. Rogers step out with Ms. Randolph to talk a little bit more about maybe next steps. So thank you for coming
Thank you
tonight.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Tara Edward. Forgive me if I mispronounced that. Please give us your full name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Tara Edward. You said it right. My address is 1700 Joe Louis Street, apartment 96, Tallahassee, Florida, 32304. I'm a parent, a mother, a wife, but I came here to address some issues that I have with my children. They're in reference to bullying as well. My children initially went to Griffin Middle School. They had some problems with bullying. They had some problems with boys grabbing them inappropriately. I talked to Ms. O'Banner, the principal there, no consequences, no resolutions. So I applied for the scholarship and they moved to Fairview. However, Fairview wasn't any different. The only difference is it wasn't any boys anymore bullying them, it was girls. So just recently they had a problem with bullying there. Girls walking up to them, trying to fight them. Staff having bias to the girls that were in the school because they have been there before my children. So, and also he has no resolutions, no consequences, and he refused to punish the children that are attacking my children. And I've contacted Mr. Hansen for the past week now. He's never available. I have filled out numerous complaints. I filled out the bullying. It's just no resolution. And someone has to be accountable for the actions that they're doing and the covering up, because you can't keep allowing certain children to bully other children, and it's not right. So that's what I wanted to talk about.
Thank you for your comments.
Superintendent?
Yes, if I may. Also, Dr. Rogers, I talked to her after seeing your speaker card. She would like to visit with you a few minutes on the way out.
Okay.
And then to possibly set up a meeting for tomorrow to talk about the situation, how we can get a resolution and get, I think there were more than, how many children were involved? And was it just your one daughter? Or?
It's actually 5 children, that were
right.
involved, and it's like 10 girls at Fairview trying
Right, so if you would, on the way out, she's right out here talking to that other woman, the author of the bully book.
Okay.
So if you would just stop and she can set up a time for y'all to meet.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last speaker, Jana Johnson. You come up to the microphone, give us your full name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Jana Johnson. My address is 1700 Joe Louis Street. I live in apartment 95 next door to Tara. Our kids actually go to the same school. They've been friends now for about a year. And it's 5 kids because it's 3 of hers and 2 of mine. My kids originally went to Griffin as well. They were homeschooled before that. I have an English education degree, so I kind of can understand certain situations. However, when they went to Griffin, the only thing that Mrs. O'Banner did was trespass me and Tara. That was her resolution to the fact that we wanted her to do something about the bullying with the little boys. And they do. And at the end of the day, all she said was, well, they probably just like your daughters. And that's just not okay. And when I told her that she needed to do something, instead of doing something, she trespassed. She called the police and trespasses. And when they finally went to Fairview, the issue at Fairview was because, like she said, our kids have not been there. The resource officer, Miss Scott, she took bias towards certain kids because she knows those children versus ours. She just assumed that my kids were the issue. And when the kids approached our kids, they approached them at different times, separate occasions. In the hallway, they ran up on my daughter. Mr. Richardson was there. He's a I don't think he's a teacher. He's like an assistant, or he watches the kids after school. He told me what happened. The school never called me about it. I never got a call about what happened. I only heard about it after I picked them up. And eventually, after 2 weeks of being bullied, it boiled over into a physical altercation. And the only situation, the only resolution to it now from Dr. Edwards, and I also contacted Mr. Hansen as well. The only resolution at that point, after it got into a physical altercation, after the girls ran up on my daughter, after another girl ran in her face and called her names and was putting her hand in her face, and Miss Cornelius was the one who had to tell me about that. I never got calls from the principal, Mr. Banks, no one about it. I only found out from my daughters. And then after that situation, one girl got suspended for 1 day. That was the resolution to the problem. And then it boiled over into a fight yesterday. And so after I dropped my kids off, 10 minutes, not even 15 minutes later, I get a call about a fight. And now they're saying, Deputy Scott is saying that she's going to issue arrest warrants for my kids. So I don't see a resolution. All I'm seeing now at this point is they're being bullied by not just the students, but by the staff. And I'm really tired of it. And we've been up there to the school at least for 2 weeks. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I'm telling you, and I'm talking to the guidance counselor, I'm telling them our kids are being bullied. We have proof of cyberbullying. They have videos, viral videos, where they went live and told them they're going to jump them. We have screenshots of tags on Instagram where they said they were going to fight them and it wasn't over. But nothing is being done. And I'm to the point where I feel like I need to just homeschool them again because I have no faith in the system, the school system at all. I've lost all faith. And when I was homeschooling them, I didn't have to worry about this. My kids were never an issue when I was homeschooling them. And my kids don't feel safe. I don't feel safe dropping them off. Because how do I know that anything's going to get resolved because there's no resolution?
Thank you for your comments.
And I would offer the same thing. You know, Dr. Rogers is right here that she will help facilitate a meeting with you and the 5 girls, or all of them are girls, the 5 girls and the principals involved, as well as Mr. Hansen, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
No more speakers.
All right. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Bowen, second by
Second.
Ms. Wood. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Show it unanimously approved. It takes us to items 19. Item 19.01. First, I'll call a public hearing. This is the superintendent's recommendation to approve amendments to our school choice policy. Are there any speakers for the public hearing?
No speakers, Madam Chair.
All right. Are we prepared to make a motion and vote? Does anybody have any questions?
It's probably good for Dr. Gill to explain what it is just for the public's purpose.
Good afternoon, or good evening, Madam Chair,
evening.
Superintendent, and board members. The policy that is before you right now for final approval is with 5120 school choice. The only change in this policy we did as parents who have enrolled in the school choice application process, open enrollment, by the way. As of this afternoon, we have 2,434 applications, and it doesn't close until March the 1st. But the only change is moving the deadline for parents to actually go to the school and enroll their child from June 28th to June 1st. And the reason for that is so that the superintendent can make recommendations regarding staffing.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wood, second by Ms. Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Show it unanimously approved. Thank you, Dr. Gale. The next is a public hearing on gifts to school districts, or to schools. Yeah, sorry. Are there any speakers to be heard on policy 7230 regarding gifts to schools?
No speakers.
No speakers. I know we're Dr. Gale, do you want to explain?
Good evening again. The only change to this policy is moving the threshold that schools can accept to $5,000. We're very fortunate in our district that so many people want to pour into our schools with resources, thanks to the hard work of all of our principals, our board, and of course our superintendent. So that is the only recommendation that our auditor is recommending.
I have a question.
Mr. Jones?
Are these funds that are paid directly to the schools, are they managed through the Leon County Schools Foundation or the campus directly?
That's an excellent question. The increase in donations is at the school level, and so all of this goes into the school account, and it may not just be money. It could also be actual in-kind products and such like that.
Managed through internal accounts at the schools.
Thank you. So moved.
Moved by Ms. Wood.
Second.
Second by Ms. Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Show it unanimously approved. And the third public hearing is on the medical marijuana issue, policy number 5330. This is the policy that we are required to adopt based on legislation. Or do you, Mr. Jones, I think you had some questions. So when to take a motion and get it, oh, I'm sorry, public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to the medical marijuana policy?
No speakers.
No speakers.
Dr. Cox is in the,
Okay, Dr. Cox, do you want to explain what we're doing again?
again,
Sorry.
yes.
Okay, so this was, policy was created to comply with mandates from Senate Bill 8A. Each district school board shall adopt a policy and a procedure for allowing a student who is a qualified patient, and we identify that in our policy, to use marijuana obtained pursuant to that section. Such policy and procedure shall ensure access by the qualified patient, identify how the marijuana will be received, accounted for, and stored, and establish a process to prevent access by other students and school personnel whose access would be unnecessary for the implementation of that policy. And that's what we've written.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Wood.
Dr. Cox, I appreciate you bringing this forward. I think a lot of times people don't understand why is the school board talking about, medical marijuana. But just today, a parent spoke to me about her child who is a stutterer and explained to me that medical marijuana keeps her child from stuttering. And she's appreciative of this policy that she can go to the school if needed, and there's going to be a safe place and a legal place for her to help her child. So I just want the public to understand this is not about children getting high. This is about children getting help. And you told me the story of a Gretchen Overhart student who medical marijuana stops seizures. And so it's just a small handful of students, but if we can help those students by this policy, I think we're doing the right thing. I just wanted to say that.
Great, and just a reminder too, it's CBD, which is a low to no THC. THC is the chemical component for the hallucinogen part of it. So,
Not a euphoric.
So this is not a euphoric, this is a medicinal purpose.
Correct.
And
yes.
if we can help kids not have seizures or stutter or be anxious at school, I think that's a really good thing.
And based upon the policy, we make every assurance that the medical marijuana is kept safe. It won't be students for whom it is not prescribed will not have access. There will be no opportunity for graft or anything like that, right?
We won't be keeping.
We will not be housing it on the campuses. So the parents or caregiver will have to bring it.
They're happy to bring it, and it's administered there most specifically, because there's been, and that's the reason I wanted to talk about it was because I wanted to make certain that as a part of the public record in our discussion today, for those parents who would have concern about it being how it's administered, the way it's done, that it wouldn't just be found just in the documents that come before us, but that it would be expressed publicly as a part of our public record, the process and procedures by which we keep this matter under control.
Right. So, School Board Member Jones, we do a training with our school health assistants, and that's who man the clinics and everything, and with our principals on all of our medication disbursements as well. So we do that every year, and it's an ongoing thing. So,
Dr. Cox, at this point, is there a number that you can share of our students that might be using?
Right now,
Scrapped.
2.
2.
And she just mentioned the second one. So I got asked that day by one of the TV stations, and I've had 0 phone calls on this. I missed it.
All right,
Yep.
so.
So might be
Right.
2 students, but those 2 students who
That's
need that
important.
and helps them be at school and be safe and learn, that's what we're about.
But it also prohibits, it's not the inhalable vaping,
Right.
smoking
Right.
type.
Right. So
Product.
so in the policy has got the forms of it that is acceptable, okay? And it's right. It's no vaping. There's no smoking. You know.
There's no
it's-
secondhand.
Right,
Right,
exactly.
So you don't get a contact high.
That's correct.
Just saying, you know, from the college.
This
days
isn't the
back
kind of
there.
I like the way Board Member Wood said it. It helps them get help, not high. You just think of that on the spur of the moment.
That's
That
very
was
good. That's
very
quotable.
wise.
Nancy Reagan would love that.
Anyway, so we have a motion.
We do.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Moved by Ms. Wood, second by Ms.
second.
Bowen.
Yes.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Show it unanimously approved. Thank you. And that takes us to item 19.04, the Tallahassee Classical School. Their address is being added to the file, I believe.
That is correct, Board Member. So this is the first amendment to the contract between Leon County Schools and Tallahassee Classical School. As you'll recall, when the contract was approved in December of 2018, they were unsure of their physical location. So a temporary location was included in the contract. They are now amending the contract to include their actual physical location.
All right, is there a
I
motion?
have a question.
A question, Ms. Wood.
It's actually not about the address, though, so we could maybe go ahead and.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Move the acceptance, approval.
Move to approve by Ms.
Yes.
Bowen, second
I'll second it.
by Ms. Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, passes 3-1. 3-1. Show Mr. Jones voting in negative.
Yes.
So here's my question. In the application process, there was a statement about enrollment and outreach to communities to make sure there's a diverse population and that sort of thing. When do we get a report about the outcome of that and what the efforts were that were made for that?
So we will not see the results of any of their enrollment until they begin entering those students into our student information system, and that process will not take place until June.
So can we ask for a report, though, of what the
We cannot.
cannot ask for a
and the
report.
reason for that is the legislature has concerns that if the district starts asking for a lot of information during this process, that we may be attempting to recruit students back from them.
Okay, but in terms of the contract that was signed, that there were stipulations made, here's what, we're going to do this, this, and this. Can we get a report back if those contract items were done, or in what sense they were done?
I'm not.
I see Mr. Graybar standing up. Did you want to?
I'm not quite sure what you're.
Well, I guess that's not. Maybe this isn't even on the agenda, so maybe we could get back to that.
And I think what I'm kind of hearing is maybe the question about when that information is to be shared with the board. And as
Yes.
far as the information that Mr. Justin just indicated, that information won't even be available until June. And there is no obligation, we can't obligate them to provide information that they don't upload earlier than the time in which they're required to upload it. To the extent there is other information that you are asking for, I think it would probably be helpful to look to the contract to see what obligations, if any, the charter school has to make that reporting to us, or to the district, and then I guess have a conversation with that board about when that
Okay.
reporting will
Well, we could
occur.
do that at another time since no one's prepared tonight for that, but I am interested to hear about that.
Thank you.
I don't.
He can speak to the issue. He can fill out a card.
I mean,
It's on the agenda.
well, this specific issue is not what's on the agenda.
Okay. We can re-agenda this, I think, for another time or talk about it another time. Thank you for being willing.
Okay, so, yes, we got a vote. We did? Oh, okay. Oh, that's right, we did that before. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
we did the vote.
Thank you. All right. Item 19.06, this is a conveyance of surplus property to Sunny Hill Plantation.
Good evening, Board,
Good evening.
Superintendent, Chair. Item 1906, Superintendent recommends Board approval of the Resolution 20.01 for conveyance of surplus real property to Sunny Hills Plantation. We had 1 acre lot. They've offered us $5,250. This item was approved by the Board in July 24 of 18, but the closing never took place, and this resolution allows the current chair to sign off on it.
Move approval.
Second.
I don't have a conflict on this. I don't think.
You have a motion?
I have a motion and a second.
Yeah, moved and second.
Okay.
So the motion?
So we're in the proper posture to ask some questions, and my question is, I don't know who owns this. What, do I have a conflict on this?
Sunny Hills Plantation, there in Tennessee, they own 4,000 acres there.
In Tennessee?
In Tennessee is where the company is, but they own 4,000 acres that are in the northeast corner
Not
of
familiar
Leon
with,
County.
you're not aware of a local owner, builder?
No, we owned 1 acre.
No, no, no.
She's trying to figure, right, there's not a local owner. The entity that owns the property is not located in Tallahassee, it's located in Tennessee, and the property is out on County Road 59
Okay.
on Veterans Memorial.
And this was previously done, okay.
Yes.
We'll be doing this in advance of the meetings from now on, right?
What?
We'll have a new format that'll be much more efficient than this, but I apologize.
And
That's
we'll
I
make
just,
these determinations prior to our coming.
yes, sir.
I have a quick question.
Consider me scolded. Yes.
Madam Chair, there was an absence of closure last year. What caused the closure not to go on as was stipulated?
The closing agent was trying to schedule it with the company Sunny Hills Plantation, and it got dropped.
It got, okay, thank you.
Are we still using that same closing company?
Yes, sir.
We're pleased with their work, although they dropped this, because we voted on this back in the fall, didn't we?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you voted on it, 20, back to you voted on it, July 24 of 2018.
Okay. Wow, that long ago. And it took us that long to get it to the closing rescheduled?
I was looking at property and I found that we still owned the parcel, and I contacted them.
Okay. All right, I got you. I thought the fault lied with the closing people. Okay, I'm with you. No problem.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Show it unanimously approved. That takes us to items 19.07. It's an all-state construction. I will be abstaining from this.
Item 1907, superintendent recommends approval of Allstate Construction, Inc., guaranteed maximum price, contract phase 4B, construction manager at risk for RFQ 427, 2018, construction manager at risk for Rickards High School, renovation buildings 13 and 19, new office addition, building 1, and a new chiller. The guaranteed maximum price is $3,002,662.
Is there a motion?
There is, I move.
Moved to approve. Ms. Bowen, second.
Second.
Ms. Wood, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Show it approved, 3 and 1 abstention.
Real quick, can I, Andrew, you want to come up and give them just a brief overview of where we are and on building 24, and then these 3 projects on 13, 19, and 1?
Sure, thank you. I'm Andrew Wellman with Allstate Construction. We've been really blessed to be able to work on that project for the last 2.5 years.
Has it been that long?
Yes, it has.
Wow.
It has. And we're doing our best to be good stewards of the funds that you've entrusted us with. So we're in our each phase has a different name. We're in our 5th or 6th phase right now, but the second major phase that's got a lot of sight from the road is the second classroom building, and that's what Commissioner Hannah was talking about. Superintendent Hannah. Second of the 2 major classroom buildings that are under construction. We finished the first one, known as Building 23, and opened it up to students in August. And building 24 is currently under construction, about 50% complete. The roof is on, most of the exterior walls are up, the exterior brick veneer is going in, and so if you were looking at the building from the outside, it's starting to take shape and look like a classroom building. But we are on track to have that open and available for students to occupy, students and staff to occupy that this end of the summer, early fall. And,
Madam Chair.
Sorry?
No.
Mr.
Madam
Jones?
Mr. Wellman, have y'all, first of all, I am aware, as a side note, that you have done your part in recruiting minority and women-owned subcontractors to work on your project. Has that proven successful? Have you identified firms?
It has, yes, sir. I think you've participated in a couple of our workshops most recently. We hold workshops. We wish we received better participation on those workshops, but we advertise to all of the firms that are listed in the school board's database, as well as I believe the state database for this region. And we love for anyone watching this video that's an SBE firm to come and talk to us. I don't have the exact statistics, but in each phase we have 2 or 3 firms that we end up contracting with. We'd love to see more. We invite a ton of firms, as you know, Commissioner Jones, and we don't get a lot of participation that we would hope we would get with as many as we invite. But we invite everyone on the list to all of our bid activities, and we're glad for the participation that we have. Yes.
And I'd also like to cite that Mr. Rod McQueen, our SPE director, also makes us aware, makes my office aware at the Office of Economic Vitality in the MWSPE division of all of your bid announcements, such that we can then share it with our database, all in an effort, as you continue, as you describe yourself as good stewards of our tax dollars, to ensure that opportunity is provided to firms beyond just traditionally white-owned firms. So for that, we are grateful.
Yes, sir. Mr. McQueen is in lockstep with us in each phase and knowing when we're soliciting, and then we report to him at the end of each phase with the outcome and the dollars that are spent with SBE firms. Yes, sir.
And I want to just make certain that this was made a part of the public record, because I am very, very pleased at what you've done thus far and what you continue to do as you work right there in the heart of 32301, that you're looking out for firms that share that same zip code.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. You came in support, and I see 2 of the partners with Hoy Stark with us tonight as well, and thank the team for your continued efforts at Rickards. And we're going to see it to the finish line. The goal is summer of 21. We're well on our way, and this will be the next phase of, I guess, 4B, and we're going to talk about 4C here in a minute, and then 5, I think, will get us over the top. But really appreciative to Allstate and to Hoy Stark for your efforts on this project.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
I need to
Thank you.
state for the record the reason for my abstention. I failed to do that initially, and that is because I'm employed by Associated Builders and Contractors of North Florida. And if you all are members of that association, even though, just to avoid any appearance of conflict. So that'll take us then to item 19.08, which is the Hoy Stark.
19.08, Superintendent recommends board approval for Hoy Stark Hagan Architects, Amendment 4 Professional Services Contract at Rickards High School, Phase 4 project. The fee will be $152,430.
Is there a motion?
Move the superintendent's recommendation.
Moved by Ms. Bowen. Second.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Wood. Questions?
Yes.
Mr.
I'm
Jones?
interested in knowing.
Please, Mike.
Yes, are the Hoy Stark people here?
Yes, sir.
Where are they?
Hoy Stark.
Hello.
Hagan.
How are you? Miss Williams is going to require that you say your name and address for the record.
Sure.
Oh, it's not? Okay, well,
Not if you
I'm
call.
Daryl.
Hi, Daryl. I'm Erica Hagan.
Hello, Ms. Hagan. What I'm curious to know is, as you also are working on these projects, are there opportunities in your contracts for subcontracting? Or do you self-perform all the work?
We work with consultants quite often. We've been a team though for many years, and our team through this project has been the same team from the phase one. So when we have an opportunity to get a consultant, that's a minority. We work with Rod often. We've done the SBE workshops. We go to all the bid openings and hope that we can help get that participation when we can get it.
Thank you so very much. That was my question.
And they're
pleasure meeting
represented
you.
at every single event that we have that Mr. McQueen has. They are here, and we're very appreciative of that. So they are not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk, and appreciate their efforts as well.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll abstain. That's 3 in favor and 1 abstention. That takes us to item 19.09.
Item 19.09, Superintendent recommends board approval of Hoy Stark Hagan Architects, Amendment 1, Professional Services, Rickards High School, Phase 5. This was for $22,695.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wood, second by Ms. Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Jones? Opposed?
No.
Okay. 3 in favor and 1 abstention. That takes us to item 19.10, the LESPA contract. Mr. Superintendent.
Madam Chair, if I may, so there are a lot of projects at Rickards as we're trying to make that finish line in the summer of 21. So that 4C basically is going to take down 2 buildings and move some electrical lines. I mean, there's a lot of maneuvering and planning that has to go in place to demo the buildings that are there. As Ms. Lewis Butler used to say, I'm not sure exact words, the dilapidated buildings. So it takes some planning to what's the word? Gestaldi? Substandard buildings that were erected in the 60s. So they're working on those plans to speed up the process so we can get to that finish line in the summer of 21, and then to move some parking around. The item 1910 is the agreement between LESPA and you all that's being brought forward. It's basically a 75-cent increase to the pay scale all across the schedule for LESPA employees. There was very little verbiage included that was changed in the contract this year. So it basically increases their hourly rate across the board, starting with our minimum wage, moving our minimum wage up to $11.84, which I'm proud to say we've moved now $2.55 over the last 3 years. So all of our employees will see another 75 cents an hour increase. And this LESPA group is a lot of our secretaries, all of our paraprofessionals, and others at the district office and in our schools. So this is exciting. We always wish we could do more. We settled with 1010 before the holidays. That also was a 75 cents increase for our bus drivers, food service workers, and all of those employees. So we really have moved the needle where our bus drivers over the last several years have received a 23% increase, food service workers about a 30% increase, paraprofessionals an 18% increase. So I'm very proud of these efforts as we continue to work to move the needle to provide a living wage, especially to our blue-collar employees.
Mr. Superintendent.
Oh, I'm sorry. After you, ma'am.
So when will this raise be seen in the actual paycheck?
So good question, Ms. Bowen. It will be, if adopted and passed by you all tonight, it will be in their March check, but it'll be retroactive back to the beginning of the school year. And so that retroactive, it would increase their checks from March, April, May, and June to reflect. And then it would be moving forward, added to their salary for here moving forward.
Okay.
What is it? I'm sorry,
Mr. Jones.
I'm not entirely sure, and this is separate, but it's a part of this. How we are reporting this to our public, the impact of the decisions that we're making and the recommendations that we're making to improve the quality of lives of the persons who work for our school district. This is huge that we've made this consistent, continuous investment in our staff, our non-instructional staff annually now for the last 3 years, is a part of what we need, as a part of the narrative that we need to share with our taxpaying public. The word that he used earlier about being stewards, as stewards, I think the public needs to be made aware of the investment that they're making in our school district.
I agree. And in addition to this, we have a number of our instructional paraprofessionals that really go beyond the call of duty and help a lot of our students with medical needs, with catheters, feeding tubes and things like that, especially at Gretchen Everhart and some of those sites. We're also looking at a supplement package for those employees who really, it's a labor of love. I mean, it really is. And so we're looking at additional compensation for those instructional paras who are also providing for medical needs of our students.
Superintendent, do you have a estimate or range of what this actually means to annual income for? Do we have a
No, I mean, it depends on the classification of the employee, and there's so many different pay grades included in this, in the LESPA contract. It's hard to put an exact number on it. The thing I like about this approach is that everyone is treated equitably. We don't talk about a 5% or a 10% across the board, because 5% for someone making $20,000 is not nearly the same as 5% for someone making $50,000.
Right.
So that's why 75 cents across the board is, to me, an equitable way, no matter where you fall on the salary schedule, it's the same dollar increase that will be realized by all of our employees in that bargaining unit.
Well, and we know that these lower paid employees are the ones who have the most economic impact in our community, because they can have a little extra purchasing power and stability and able to afford health insurance, and so this is very important.
It is, and and like I said, we have Mr. Mazer and folks from LCTA here that are here at every meeting advocating on behalf of their unit, they do an amazing job. And a lot of the rhetoric coming out of the Capitol is about teachers. Right, I'm married to one, I understand that, but 50% of our workforce are not teachers, and many times they kind of get. They're not involved. They're not in the conversation.
They feel left
out. They feel left out and not a part of the team. And we're all one team, whether you're a board member, or a superintendent, or a teacher, or a parapro.
Or a custodian. That's right.
Mr. Jones.
Madam Chair, also, and this is separate from this conversation, but one of the things that I would like for the board to consider when we start talking about the budget is our paying a larger percentage of their benefit package. One of the things that I remember that made Florida so attractive was because although your salary may not have been great, what you paid in benefits was so minimal such that it gave you even greater spending power. Well, as we make this increase in salary, if we're not offsetting the burgeoning costs associated with health care, particularly for families of a size larger than one or two, then I think that might be able to, I think we ought to talk about how we consider lessening the impact that families have to bear. And so I know it's not my decision to make, but I'd like that to be a part of our conversation when we talk about the budget.
Certainly, and I remember Mr. Wembley when he was here. Money's money, and we can either put it into their salaries or we can put it into a benefit package. It's just that'll be left up to the committees that are formed to do that lift. I learned that lesson last year. So those will be discussions that the benefits committee will have, I'm sure, in the future, as to if we do have resources available, this spring, that we can provide for that. We in the Senate's package, I think it was a 40-cent increase. 40 cents on the BSA, which would basically just provide for the increase of health care and contributions to the FRS. So it's kind of like breaking even on that side of the equation. The news for the teachers is very promising, but additional funds to support these types of raises, it may be tough, just depending on what our fund balance is.
I'm going to use that. Money's money.
Money is money. Money's money.
Money's money.
All right, I'm not sure that
And mid-year cuts do happen. Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And moved by Ms. Wood, second by Ms. Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Show it unanimously approved. That takes us to the new item 19.11, which used to be 18.03 at Mr. Jones' request. This is the ESE District Advisory Council. Ms. Dr. Cox?
Oh, okay.
And my only observation, Dr. Cox, and this is, I've mentioned this. My only observation, Dr. Cox, and I've mentioned this regarding other committees that we have created, I'm interested that any committee that we create would have board impact. That board members would input. That board members would that any committee we would have that, regardless of the size, that there would be 5 persons who would be appointed by any one of us to represent our interests as an extension of us on the for that committee or
And
for
we amended the language for these bylaws to do exactly that, to allow us the
that.
opportunity.
I thought I saw a list of board members.
Maybe if you give Dr. Cox an opportunity to provide an explanation.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we're asking for tonight is a kind of approval of the preliminary board. Y'all approved the bylaws back in December the 10th, and in there is a part of the board is a membership committee with a chair on it. And so we're asking to vote for approval of that piece so we can get that group up and going. In the language we have included in here now, in order for the ESE DAC to move forward in securing full membership, including school board appointed members. So that has been added to this language as well. So it's there.
So in a nutshell, this list that you're looking at is the membership committee, the officers and the membership committee to start the membership process. In order for ESE DAC to start soliciting members from the community, from the school board, they needed to be approved by you.
It's in the bylaws that were approved.
Yes, what you didn't want to have happen was a group of folks who were not already approved by the board going out and soliciting members for this ESE DAC.
Thank you, ma'am, for explaining that to me.
Okay.
And thank you
So-
too, Dr.
so
Cox, for explaining.
Once that list is compiled by this introductory group, that list is going to come back to you all. But you all will also be solicited for your appointments to the DAC.
Thank you very
ESE
much.
DAC.
And this is so important to have this input. We have, what percentage of our children are?
15%.
15% of our children
Disability,
are
right.
classified ESE, and so we do need to have direction from parents and community members about best practices, and so I'm really happy that you're heading this and making this happen. It's great.
Very good. Great. All right, is there a motion?
So move.
Moved by Ms. Wood,
Second.
second by Ms. Bowen. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Show it unanimously approved. Okay, no information on upcoming meetings, reports from liaisons, superintendent comments.
Madam Chair, briefly, just along the same lines with this committee that we're excited about, we sent a team last week to Orlando, Dr. Cox? Yes. To Orlando to look at inclusion models in other parts of the state, to kind of look to break the mold of self-contained, and when appropriate to have more inclusion. I know we're doing that in a number of our elementary schools, so our principals are sharing best practices right here at home, and then we're going out to different parts of the state to also look for opportunities for inclusion. You know, I don't know if y'all have read the article Opportunity Myth about the students who are not provided the opportunity, whether it's minority students or students with exceptionalities, the same opportunities, just because we just say, well, those kids, they can't survive in a regular classroom, or they can't, they aren't ready for that grade level material, that they're never provided and challenged with those opportunities, and a lot of them can actually do the work. And so we also have a team that's come in from the Department of Education that we welcomed this morning. I believe there was about, 30 or so members of DOE. So when you're in the same community, they all come. And they visited a number of our school sites today for us to show them what we are doing, and they're going to give some recommendations and some to say about things that they're seeing that we're doing well, and then some recommendations of other ideas that we may want to consider with our exceptional student population. So it's exciting times as we look for more inclusion. With that comes additional resources, but we do want to make sure that we're not just doing the same old thing here in our school system, because that's the way it's always been done. So I applaud Dr. Cox and his team for going to Orlando, and there'll be more on these efforts in the months in the year to come.
Great.
Great.
And then finally, so in front, up here, up the front of the dais, you see 2 heads of cabbage.
Yes,
Those were grown by Kiari Jenkins at Woodville, 6th grader at Woodville Elementary School, where I went to visit today. And they had a huge garden going with cabbage and with broccoli and with greens and turnips and field peas and snaps. There she is. And I felt guilty because Chris said, well, just grab that one. I'm like, no, this girl is going to be really mad. She's been cultivating and growing these 2 heads of cabbage for the last 3 months. And so they have chickens we have chickens at Woodville now, and the kids, it's awesome. So the elementary kids will come out and get the wiggles out and visit the chickens, and then they'll go back in, and they actually hatch these chickens. So the elementary kids are planting the seeds. And then growing, and then the older kids are actually putting them into the ground. I mean, the program we're growing at Woodville is very exciting. So, Sharonda said she's gonna take the cabbage home tonight and make us some lunch for tomorrow. So y'all feel free to come by the office tomorrow about noontime for some cooked cabbage. But thank you to Kiara for your donation.
So she gave you permission to abscond with her.
Well, it was kind of like after the fact that we asked permission. I felt really guilty, but her teacher said it was okay, that she would really be excited about it, and
now she's on her cabbage and she are on TV.
Or on television, yes. So we
Oh,
promised her she would be on TV as well. Her cabbage on television tonight.
Neat.
But it gives it makes school relevant,
learning fun.
It makes learning fun.
Yes.
Very good. Excellent. Great story. Thank you.
Innovative in this district.
But of course.
Yep, very good. All right, any continuing, Mr. Jones, please tell us about the resolution to your now no longer continuing concern.
Calmly tell us.
About Orange Avenue.
Devoid of excitement and glee. One of the things that we've talked about here a great deal is student safety. And one of the things that I was made aware of is that we are responsible for the school proper, but the streets on the way to the schools are not our responsibility. And so when granted the opportunity to represent the school district at the managers meeting with the mayor and the chairman of the commission, I had opportunity to talk with our county administrator along with the superintendent about what has been our safety concern at Rickards High School, at Orange Avenue and Jimley Road. At that time, the superintendent, who had already engaged with Mr. Long, he confirmed with us that it would be implemented, that there was a plan underway to provide traffic calming devices. Anyone who's traveled down Orange Avenue, particularly at the commuter hour, people not that I fly through there, because I always honor the speed limit. But people fly through there, and if you ever watch that video game Frogger, children are trying their best to get across 4 lanes of traffic. And so here now, we now have that amenity to ensure student safety. And I wanted to acknowledge our County Administrator, Vince Long, and the folks at Leon County Public Works and our superintendent for responding to my concern and helping to mitigate that and to bring this to fruition. I'd also like to thank the citizens who brought it to my attention, Ms. Pamela Zachary, and our principal at Rickards High School, Principal Doug Cook. So thank you, Mr. Superintendent.
Well, thank me. I see Chief Hunkyar sitting in the back corner. He was instrumental in making this happen as well. So, John, thank you for your
Mr.
efforts.
Hunkyar.
But we did it. We can check, Dr. Gale, we can check that one off.
Yeah.
It is no longer a continuing concern.
Flashing lights.
It's no
Not
longer
one.
and if you've seen it, it's really, really
Yes.
nice. It's absolutely top shelf.
Very nice. Thanks. Ms. Bowen?
Yes, Madam Chair. I believe this is Literacy Week or Literacy Month. Many of us have been out and about in our schools reading stories. And if you really want to see and feel really good about what we do, go and continue to read books to the children of Leon County Schools. I was at Astoria Park today and I read E.T. The original story. I know. And they knew nothing about the E.T. that I knew about, and that's coming back on as a sequel. So have fun and go and read. And then I read, you want to hear what I read? I read about the peacock and the three hens. They love that at second grade, Miss Saylor and Mrs. Leon. So Literacy Week, reading is important. Just need to say that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Free commercial.
I'd also like to make an announcement that was shared with me that I think you will all be delighted to know. As we continue to talk about the importance of supporting our Title I schools, on Thursday, is it, Mr. Superintendent, at Astoria Park? At 12 noon. Our city commission believes in supporting our Title I schools too. Many of you may have read where Commissioner Diane Williams Cox, along with the members of the city commission, devoted, I believe it was all of their parking revenue for the month of December. Well, they'll be making, was it November or December?
Last year.
But we'll be making a public presentation on this coming Thursday at 12 noon at Astoria Park of the proceeds that they've collected on behalf of our Title I schools. I would love for all of our colleagues to join the superintendent at that meeting as we show the collaboration and the investment made by our fellow jurisdiction.
So anyone who got a parking ticket for Christmas can rest in good faith
Thank
knowing
you.
that money went.
That's
to
right.
go get
Our
Astoria
Title
Park.
I schools. Thank
But, and I have to announce that our very own Chris Petley was happy to donate to that cause. So Chris donated his, yeah.
Yes, yes. So I'm sure I'll see many of you at Astoria Park on Thursday at 12 noon.
Yes.
It's down the Thorpe Street corridor, and we're such neighbors. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood when you have other neighbors come on over. So will I see you there, Mr.
Yes,
Jones?
ma'am. Yes,
Good.
ma'am.
And others,
Yes, ma'am.
you're welcome.
Yes,
Speaking of that, didn't we, I think since our last meeting, have an incredible donation to Riley Elementary School?
Oh, you keep making all of my announcements, but of course we did. An absolutely wonderful $25,000 check was delivered, presented to the Riley Bears by the Scripps Publishing Company. It was outstandingly done. The principal there was wonderful. Many community members were there. So we've got some great things happening all over. April Knight is the principal and received the check. The girls and boys were surprised, and many parents were there. So it was a great, great day. Thank you for reminding me of
And
that.
I believe, didn't WTXL also, weren't they part of that donation?
Yes, WTXL was there. We had TV coverage, Scripps
How
Publishing.
many books? Like 4 books per child or something?
All books were given away. Each child was able to go in and get at least 2 books. They were very excited about it.
That's great.
Thank you to WTXL and to Scripps.
Yes, and the Scripts.
All right,
Thank you.
AP, are you trying to get a word in edgewise down there? We have a very loquacious board. I've been trying to get to you.
Yeah, I wanted to make a new issue, or well, it's not necessarily an issue, but more so an announcement. But I want to go up to the podium because I like talking while standing up, anyways. So.
That's nasty.
Okay, I'm going to try to keep this brief. So, the last meeting, I made a new announcement about Mental Health Leon. It was the mental health program that I was trying to start with the aid of other students. And I just wanted to give y'all a background about what it is and just what our goals are for this year, what our goals are for coming years, what we hope to pass down. So at the start of the year, this was an issue that me and a close friend of mine who couldn't be here tonight because he has work, but mental health is something that is very close to us. It's very close to our hearts. And we saw that it was an issue that wasn't talked about very much in Leon County. It's become something that recently has been talked about a lot, actually, especially with Florida legislature passing down that 5-hour requirement. But from the student perspective, this wasn't quite enough. And we noticed a shared commonality between a lot of students, not just at Rickards, but at a lot of other schools, that most students talk about their problems whether it be at home, whether it be depression, anxiety, suicide, with each other rather than adults, because adults can be sometimes intimidating and sometimes don't listen. But our peers, people who understand us, people who go through what we go through every day, do. And we wanted to use that common trait to our advantage. So we started meeting with two other students from Leon High School, and we used a local solutions skills center to hold meetings. And it started off as basically a check-in program where we check in our mental health, check in what's going on with our schools, what we could do to help improve. And we eventually started to make a plan about how to bring a mental health solution from students for students. And what we ended up coming up with was 4 goals. And I guess I'll tell you these 4 goals right now. Was holding meetings that are similar to Alcoholics Anonymous, where students suffering with mental health disorders, whether they be diagnosed or not, whether they have anyone to talk to or not, can come out and talk to other students who feel as if they're struggling with complete confidentiality, with a support group that truly gets what they're getting at, and someone who won't turn them away. Trying to work with the TMH Animal Therapy Program, which is a free program, a program that has volunteers all across Leon County to bring in animals from alpacas to dogs to students to help with their mental health. But there are also 2 goals the school board could also help with. And those 2 goals are adding a mental health report to the reports to be heard that this program would bring eventually, where we'd expand to all schools in Leon County eventually. Well, this would happen after I'm gone because it's a very broad topic, but have this as a reports to be heard to check in where students are mentally across Leon County, and to hold a parent information night. We're planning on holding this at Rickards. This will be organized entirely by students to talk about mental health disorders, what we go through, what causes them, what we feel like would fix our problems. And this would be something that all students from all across Leon County can come to, all parents can come to, and I wanted to invite all of you as well. And once we finalize the date, I'll send that to Dr. Gale and she can tell you what it's all about. So I just wanted to make this announcement, something that I've been working on from the start of the year, and I hope you all support it. Thank you.
I think that would be an incredible legacy for you
Enormous.
to leave. I mean, to hand off and to have grow. And I'm hoping that probably Dr. Cox and the superintendent can give you the kind of support that you might need to see this come to fruition, especially across the district.
Agree.
No, I think it's amazing. I think it's awesome. And so, however we can help as adults, because I've said this from the beginning, and we have to listen to you. I mean, we can't be the ones that are just feeding you information. And so, whatever we can do to help support these efforts, just let us know.
It's a very brave idea, courageous. Go for it. Go for it. And
Well, I'm
we're here.
happy to hear that you guys are supportive of it.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you. Yep.
we do.
We've had, 4 or 5 innovative ideas brought forward by students
Absolutely.
from elementary school to high school,
Right.
just tonight. And what a great inspiration
What a great
you
thing.
guys are. Thank you.
At the Martin Luther King rally at the Capitol, where the students spoke, that was, I'd say they talked about 2 top issues, and one of them was mental health, and their concern that they need more help and more people to listen and take them seriously. And a lot of the students did speak about that and their fear of gun violence were the 2 top topics that the students talked about, and we adults need to listen. So thank you.
There was also another announcement I wanted to make.
Good.
Kind of forgot about it while I was talking, but this was something that I didn't start but helped to initiate with 2 students, one from Rickards and one from Childs, that came to me for help. This is a STEM minority program It's to bolster minorities and financially disadvantaged students into STEM and to spark an interest in STEM programs. And we've actually been working with NIMS on this. And about 2 weeks ago, we held our first meeting at the NIMS after school program, where we held an experiment for the after school students. And we sort of educated them about the STEM field, what is in the STEM field, what advantages come from having a job in the STEM field, and just everything about that. And we chose NIMS because of their concern that they weren't getting a lot of STEM education, and so far it's worked really well. But I wanted to just tell you what's happening on that, and to tell you that we'll be talking more about it in the next school board meeting, because those two students will actually be coming by and sharing why they wanted to start the program and what they hope to accomplish with it.
Did you have a great number of students to
Yeah,
show
actually,
interest?
it was around 30 students.
That's a great number of students. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, we look forward to hearing more about that. Neat ideas.
Real quick. So tomorrow morning, 8:30, we're having our fourth presentation. We talk about, go around and talk to our students about gun violence. It'll be at Rickards High School tomorrow morning at 8:30. If you're in the neighborhood, love to have you.
I have a new concern. You notice
You're only allowed one at a time. Sorry, I'm good. Go ahead.
I am interested, and I don't know how this occurs. One, there has been a great deal of interest from the folks in Innovation Park, particularly Danfoss Turbocore, Leon County Research Development Authority, to work with our schools, particularly Pineview and NIMS, right there in the shadow of that technology corridor. And I don't know what is the method. I don't know what this will be a part of our strategic planning, but is it possible that those schools could be devoted to STEM? I don't know about the magnet programs that we have in our district. I don't know how any of that works, but I would love for us to start a dialogue, Mr. Superintendent, with those institutions over there, the FAMU FSU College of Engineering, LRCDA, Danfoss Turbocore, the High Magnetic Lab. Imagine if they were to make an investment, be willing to work cooperatively with us as good stewards, the impact that could have in nurturing STEM in District 3, but most importantly with our Title I schools, they're in its shadow. I remember when I was first elected, it was my colleagues who helped me to put into perspective why there had been such an enormous change in Pineview over the course of a generation. We have opportunity with strong partners to remedy that and to provide, I think, a needed response to expand learning opportunities that could impact children from across the district. If we were to have that type of collaboration, particularly with enormous community stakeholders and institutions like I've described. So I don't know what's the method. I defer to the expertise of my colleagues as to how that occurs, because y'all have created programs in the past, but I know it starts with our subject matter experts found in both our superintendent and assistant superintendents. But I'd like for us to consider setting dates whereby we start to have that conversation and reach out to our subsequent partners. Then we create a technology corridor there on Orange Avenue in the shadow of two major research institutions, FAMU and FSU, but then also those technology centers found there in Innovation Park.
Brilliant.
I'm with you totally. And another thing we can do, I think, is to start looking at a pre-K program, expanding that at the side of Pineview and possibly NIMS, where you get people that are going out to Innovation Park. They have a place to drop their kids off. And that's also another way to grow, to integrate, to bring different kinds of socioeconomic folks to the table and have a vested interest for their own children. So I'd like to see us look into that as well.
And to extend that further, south side, west side, but to increase this to other Title I schools as well. I didn't hear just for District 3.
Well,
I heard.
But
we're going
I've talked, well, they're in my district, but that's why I'm recommending them, because they're right there
next to.
And Sable Palm is real close to that.
And
too.
Sable
That's what
Palm,
we can
and we're
spread it,
we're making an investment in Sable Palm as a community partnership school.
Right,
We're already
we are.
seeing the dividends in that. So that's why I thought, but Sable Palm as well. But then I was thinking about those schools most specifically, because it could be a feeder, much like we find with our IB programs, right? Where students are coming from across the expanse of our district, taking advantage of IB programs. Well, imagine if we were to do the same thing with STEM.
Oh yeah, from that
Right.
idea.
So and I know that there is interest. Danfoss Turbocore is making a major investment in
Right.
Pineview and looks to expand that. So then you got Ron Miller at LRCDA, right? We've got the new dean at the FAMU FSU College of Engineering, right? Both presidents have met with our principals, as you know, and want to make an investment. So I just thought that the time was right for that type of discussion. But again, as the rookie, I'm blithely unaware of how this occurs, but I wanted to enlist the expertise found in our staff on how we could possibly talk about harnessing that enormous human and financial capital found right there in the shadow of those two schools.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, it falls in line with what AP's doing at NIMS. We've been looking for a hook at NIMS. I think it's wonderful, and so we will, as Jillian would say, on it, right?
On it.
I think
On it.
one, not to overcomplicate it at all, because it's a genius idea and I love it. One of the reasons that the Sable Palm Community School model works is because the primary partners have committed to long-term. They've made a long-term commitment, 25 years. And one of the concerns that our colleague Ms. Bowen had when we first started talking about that was, I don't want somebody showing up and having this great program one year and be gone the next.
Right.
So in terms of, again, not to overcomplicate, I don't think it needs to be the same exact model, but I think learning those best practices from the
Right.
kinds of partnerships that are sustainable
Right.
is a great place to start.
Yes.
So
And again, I readily admit but I just want to.
We have experts to do that.
But I think
Good.
it's a conversation worth having
absolutely.
and some guidance, and I look forward to guidance.
Great.
That's very exciting.
And with that, Mr. Jones,
Rise.
moves we rise.